Traders, how are you? With Marcello. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. We have Elon Musk talking about making his own phone. We have prehistoric viruses that they're getting out of the permafrost in Russia and obviously replicating in the lab because, no viruses are going to escape from a lab ever. And we also have Germany and other countries talking about having shortages of electricity. Let's get started. Thanksgiving is the time to say thank you. I've had an amazing amount of success and I wouldn't have been able to do it without all the people that have been in my life and all the companies and everything for the last, 10, 15 years. So let me just say, I always do a video saying thank you. I want to thank absolutely everybody. You watching this video, click on the ads, it helps. And speaking of Thanksgiving this year, the cost of Thanksgiving meal has gone up 20.14% from 2021. So from last year to this year, basically the cost of a Thanksgiving dinner has gone up over 20%. The Biden administration is blaming climate change and Putin, obviously. And so remember, when they tell you that the inflation rate is only 7 or 8 or 9%, the food that you're buying, which is literally something that you have to buy every month, just the food alone has gone up 20%. So don't believe what they tell you, right? That's why I always like to do these videos, because put all the dots together, prepare for that beautiful crisis that's coming, because obviously I talk a lot about the negative things that are going to happen, but remember that whenever there's something that's really bad that's happening, it's one of the best opportunities to be able to invest and make money. So keep that in mind. So happy Thanksgiving and thank you to everyone. Markets in the United States, mostly positive. Canada was positive as well. Markets in Europe were mostly higher as well. We have Spain and Istanbul taking the crown for the most positive there. In Latin America, I don't know if you guys are following the World Cup, but we gotta give a moment of silence for Argentina. Don't cry for me, Argentina. They lost the match there against Saudi Arabia. And if you guys haven't been to Argentina, if there's one thing that's life, it's literally soccer. Right? So you can't mess with soccer in Argentina, even though they're probably going to lose anyway. They're not going to go to the finals. But mostly higher in Latin America. Africa and the Middle East was mixed. We have Nigeria going up almost 7%. And then in Asia and the far, far east, we have Philippines being the most positive at 2.63%. And then the Hang Seng and the Hong Kong, the most negative at 2.38. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency news. In the conspiracy Marcello of the week, we have Bank of Japan running a experiment for the digital yen, which I know this is what I always kind of have thought of from the beginning, that it's going to be the government coin. That's what cryptos are really about, in my opinion. The government of Japan, or I should say the Bank of Japan, which is a central bank, has teamed up with 3 mega banks and a lot of other regulatory financial institutions to be able to start testing the digital yen in spring of 2023. There is another moment of silence for the other crypto system that has collapsed. Moment of silence. The system from Solana and all stable coins associated with Solana have been suspended on a lot of exchanges: Binance, OKX, BitMEX, and even KuCoin. US Tether, which is USDT, and also USD Coin, which is USDC. Just the systems that run on Solana have been suspended. And Coinbase, which is the largest crypto exchange in the United States, has fallen 25%. The value of the company has fallen by that in the stock market in the last 4 days alone. They dropped 8% on Monday. This obviously has to do with the FTX collapse. And Sam Bankman-Friedman, SBF, the founder of FTX, still not in jail. He's presenting at I think an event in New York, still not in jail. Bitcoin lower for the week, down 0.13% at 16,632. And the crypto market has lost over $1.4 trillion in value. And I've been in this industry in a long time. I think, if I'm not mistaken, counting the time right, it's been almost 22 years. All of the people that I know in the crypto space, all of them have all lost a ton of money in the crypto space. So it's what I always tell you guys. It's not that you can't make money. Just be careful. There's a lot of risk involved. Obviously, a lot of benefit too. But just be careful, because there's a lot of things that happen in crypto that don't happen in other markets, because other markets are regulated, unlike crypto. In commodities, the Hoover Dam, which is a a dam that generates electricity in the United States. It brings electricity to 1.3 million people is at a risk of shutting down now that the water levels are at about 30%. Remember that we had those other dams in the West, California, Las Vegas, Arizona, that they have officially been shut down because they're having a drought as well. In Germany, the head of Federal Office of Civil Protection and Disaster Resistance talked about how we have to assume that there's going to be blackouts this winter. So it sounds like everybody's going to have a blackout, basically. And in the EU, they on Tuesday announced sanctions for Russia, but they watered them down, and now they're talking about a 45-day transition period. They keep trying to do this stuff to Russia when, in the end of the day, they have to keep buying Russian energy. If you guys remember the few videos that I did a while ago, the United States, even with the sanctions, is still buying oil from Russia. It's just, it's madness. No fuel more essential to the economy than diesel. If you guys didn't know, especially in the United States, Europe, they use a lot of trains, but they use diesel fuels for trains as well. All trucks on a global basis, trucks, buses, ships, trains, construction, manufacturing, farming, and even diesel's now being used to heat homes. All of this stuff uses diesel. And now they're reporting that within the next few months, almost every region on the planet is facing danger of a diesel shortage. So if we have a shortage of diesel, literally the entire economy shuts down. US crude for the week went down as well. There's a situation in China, which is affecting everybody. They're having a huge breakout of COVID, and they still have that zero COVID policy. So with the breakout, they're trying to lock down these cities, and people in China are not having it anymore. They're starting to riot and move the barricades and everything. And so that's even affecting places like Tesla and Apple, because Apple, their Foxconn supplier factory is in that zone as well. I'm going to give you the details of that in just a moment. So that's part of the reason why the crude dropped, because if the expectation is that the second largest economy in the world is literally shutting down, that's going to cause a huge shockwave throughout the entire world. So US crude went down by almost 5%, Brent down almost 5% as well. Gold went up 0.23% to 1,756, and silver went up 2.32% to $21.54. Financial and banking news. The Germany's yield curve has hit the deepest inversion since 1992. In the United States as well, the Treasury spread between the 2-year and the 10-year has hit its widest inversion since the mid 80s. Basically, this is an indicator of a potential recession coming. And the reason behind that is the government debt, which are the treasuries, they have an interest rate tied to them, which is the yields. So when we say treasury yields, this essentially means government debt, the interest on the government debt. Well, if we have people worrying about it, the recession that's coming, obviously people don't want to lock in their money long term. So what happens? They take their money out of the long-term debt, or they don't rebuy that debt, and then they go into short-term debt because they want to be liquid because of the fear. So what happens? The interest rate for the long-term debt goes down, and then the interest rate for the short-term debt goes up. And that difference is an inversion, because generally there's more demand for the longer-term debt, which is the reason why generally the longer-term debt has a higher interest rate, right? Because people want it more. It's just demand, supply and demand. So now that the US treasuries and even the German treasuries are starting to have their inversion, and a significant one at that, most likely means that we're walking into a pretty serious recession. Jeff Bezos also talked about that hard times are coming. I'm going to get into that just as well. And Amazon is planning on letting go about 100,000 people, starting at about 10,000 people this month. Going down here, Sweden, Bank of Sweden, central bank hiked their rates to the highest level in 10 years. They're getting eaten alive by the inflation as well. New Zealand's central bank went up by 75 basis points to 4.25, the biggest rate hike in New Zealand central bank history. Their inflation is at 7.2%, which is just below 3-decade highs. At the Bank of Korea, South Korea, one of the largest economies in the world, 7th largest exporter in the world, they raised at 3.25 as well. And in political news, Elon Musk officially let former President Trump back on Twitter after he won a poll. 15 million votes, and the majority went to letting him back online. Economic news, the OECD said Europe is going to bear the brunt of the global economic slowdown, especially as the energy prices hike. New U.S. single homes surprisingly went up. 7.5%. Seasonally adjusted sales actually went up instead of down, which, remember, because of the high inflation, the mortgage rates exploding, inflation eating consumers' pockets, the sales of houses have gone down by quite a bit. And then the number of Americans filing new claims for jobless benefits went up to a 3-month high. And this has to do with all the tech companies letting go people. Facebook, Amazon, Twitter, everybody's literally getting let go at this point. And I think what's going to happen is now that Twitter has let go all of these people and they're still running the same, I think a lot of these tech companies are not going to start seeing how lean they could actually be run, which means that we're going to see a lot more people getting let go. Amazon's founder, Jeff Bezos, as I mentioned, is warning about the hard times that are coming. He's saying, don't go out and buy that big TV during Black Friday. Save that money because what's coming is going to be serious. And the company is closing about 70 retail stores. 66 of them are in the US. And I also let you know already that they're going to let go about 100,000 people. Corporate news, Tesla, their shares went down almost 7% on Monday after that fiasco in China with the breakout of COVID. The Tesla stock is down 26% so far this year. 26% in November, almost 52% this year. Apple is also worried about the China production. There's a source that we're saying that 20,000 workers, mostly new hires, are not working on the production lines anymore. They literally just took money and left. And China is walking into a pretty serious problem. And that's a problem for everybody because remember that even the babies are manufactured in China. Everything is made in China. Walt Disney legend Bob Iger is returning as CEO for Disney. He was at the helm for the company for 15 years and he did absolutely amazing things. He's going to be at the helm for 2 years to, quote, make a new strategic direction for renewed growth. And BYD shares, BYD being the largest electric car company in the world, bigger than Tesla, they went down 2.64% after Berkshire Hathaway, which is the company that Warren Buffett owns, was reported that Warren Buffett cut the amount of stock that he had in the company. So he sold a few of the shares. South Korea's exports in the first 20 days of November dropped 16.7% on an annualized basis. Demand is lagging in China. And this is big because with South Korea, although not one of the largest economies in the world, it's definitely in the top 20, but it's the 7th largest exporter in the world. So if one of the largest exporters in the world starts to drop in their exports, that means that people are buying less stuff. Remember what we always talked about in these videos, how consumer demand or consumer spending, I should say, is the biggest percentage of most economies around the world. In the United States, for example, it's almost 70%. So if that's happening to South Korea, that's going to start to reverberate throughout the entire economy. In technology, Elon Musk said that he's going to potentially build a new phone if Apple and Google boot Twitter from the app stores. Now, because he's unsuspending a lot of people, they're saying that because of our democracy, we should boot Twitter from the app stores. And China is developing a new nuclear system to power the moon, expected to be up and running in 2028 for their base that they want to have there. And the next pandemic, a lot of scientists are saying that could come from the Arctic. There's 7 viruses from the Siberian permafrost, which the ice that's melting, that have been revived and replicated in the lab. Like, why? Why would they want to do that? You know why. Wear your mask. International events. Turkish President Erdogan signaled ground operation in North Iraq and Syria to eliminate a terrorist threat that supposedly was going to make attacks against Turkey. And the Ukrainian authorities on Friday have gradually restored power after reconnecting the country's 4 nuclear plants, but there's still millions of people without power due to the attacks from Russia on Ukraine. And an unusual fact this week, confirmed thieves broke into the German Roman Celtic Museum and stole 450 gold coins that are supposedly thousands of years old. They were uncovered in 1999. And they're worth millions of dollars. All they have to do is literally just melt the gold and then recast it, and then that's it. Coins are gone. And the Black Desert of Jordan, there's an amazing new series on Netflix from Graham Hancock called Ancient Apocalypse, or Ancient Civilizations, I think it is. Look up Graham Hancock on Netflix. But there's in the desert of Jordan, archaeologists are uncovering a location called Shubaika. Experts believe that they lived there for 14,400 years, and now searching the ruins of a fireplace, the meals that they found in this fireplace supposedly could rewrite the history that they try to convince us of. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, the preppers were right.